Hi, I'm Nicola Parkin. I'm one of the learning designers here at Flinders University, and this video is about using Mahara ePortfolio as a practice. I'm going to be sharing from my own experience of a genuine Mahara ePortfolio user. I started using it a couple of years ago in order to learn the tool. The first thing I learned was actually it's not so much about the technology, it is about the practice. So, as an online web space that you can create into, it really can be whatever you want it to be. What I'm going to do is show you my own practice, and in the hope that it will generate or provoke some ideas about what you can do and what indeed are the possibilities for Mahara, or the affordances, if you like, of the technology for practice. I decided to keep a scholarly portfolio. I'm an RHD student, so that made sense for me. Because I had a genuine reason to use it, I dived in and I began to use it for journaling, for keeping records of presentations or any activity work that I was doing, a record of my coursework as well, and anything else that seemed to make sense within my scholarly domain. I use it now for more things as well, but that's where I started. Here we are on the dashboard of Mahara, and everybody's Mahara will look the same, staff and students, because it is one of the technologies available at Flinders. It belongs with your FAN, and that means the staff and students all have access and they all get exactly the same product. So this is what it looks like. Of course, I've modified mine a bit, so yours might look slightly different. This is called the dashboard or the landing page, and anything that we begin to create in this space is actually private by default. This is the wonderful thing about Mahara. Unlike some of the other social media platforms, it is all private by default unless you take the action to actually share something. Now, having said that, there is one public page which is your profile page, and this is my profile page. So I've made use of the fact that it's a public page, and anything that I've created in Mahara that I have then made public, I've linked to here as well. So I'm able to take this page, create a secret URL for it, or just link to it from the public sphere and send that out to people, or link to it, say, from other social media platforms or whatever. I'll just show a couple of pages in here. So this is a page that I keep on my research project. Key things that I'm doing that relate to my research project I keep in here and try to keep that updated. This is a presentation that I did, and what I've done is I've kept everything together that makes sense, that belongs together around this presentation. So there's the abstract, there's the slides themselves, there's the program, and which has got the details of the event. There's a small reflection that I did afterwards, not much, but I just captured my experience. And there's also some impact that I was able to collect because of as a result of this presentation. So it's not much, but every little bit of impact is like gold, and a good thing to be keeping hold of these days. So this is a research project that I'm involved in. It's a little research project around ePortfolios. So actually we link to our ePortfolios here. We've got some embedded video, notes about current work, a paper that is forthcoming, and also a couple of past papers as well. This is a very useful way to gather a number of different media or forms together and curate them in a meaningful way. Having said that, you can also have standalone pages. So this is a very simple page that I put together. I just actually entered in the text from a blog post that I had written somewhere else. and the comments that went with that as well, and put it together with a little picture, and then that makes a nice little piece that can be shared for whatever purposes. This is a page that I've put together again as a collection of things. So it's a particular practice interest of mine, and anything that I'm doing around slow in terms of educational practice with slow, I'm keeping here. So presentations that I've done, paper that I'm working on, and also just the story of how I came to be interested in this, and how I have shifted, and how it has actually impacted on my practice, and how my practice has informed my thinking in this area. So that's, if you like, demonstrating scholarliness over time. So back onto the dashboard page, I'm going to show you, these are all the pages that I have created that are not in collections. So these collections are a number of pages that fit together. This is pages that are linked together. And these are pages that sit on their own. So this one here on ePortfolios, I just want to show you this because it reminds me to tell you a couple of things. Now, a page like this with some notes in it, if you like, can be a very useful presentation page. So you can use a page like this to actually work through, in a reasonably non-linear way, a number of different ideas, and you could put something like this together for an interview or a lecture, or anything really. Now, the big idea around ePortfolios as practice is it brings together, in my opinion, these three important things: form, or the way that it's actually created and presented; meaningfulness in terms of how things fit together or stand on their own, and what are the relations between things, and what are the relations over time; and also openness. So on that range between completely private, which might be journal entries, through to public showcase of work, and everything in between, targeted sharing with individuals, sharing for a short time, taking it back. There's, if you like, degrees of openness that you can practice within your ePortfolio. These coursework details are not listed on my public page. They're private to me, but I do share them with my supervisors as well. So this is where I keep a record of what that topic was about, and the big pieces of work that I did in relation to that topic, which is fantastic if you're like me and you have a terrible memory, and it creates a fantastic documentation, if you like, over time. My philosophy of education, learning and teaching is here as well. So, and this is, if you like, a living document. So anytime I'm thinking about my philosophy in this area, I'm updating my notes. And I think something like this is fabulously important if you can create a page like this and then link it on your CV, or on a application for a job, or even on social media, anything, on your flow site. It's wonderful to be open about your philosophy of learning and teaching. The other way that you can use pages in Mahara is, here I've got an example of a report that I did for my mid-candidature milestone report. And as part of that report, I wanted to report on my scholarly activity. So for each of the presentations that I had done during this part of my candidature, I had a separate page, and I had linked directly to that page and organized all of this onto this actual report. So if you like, the Word document of the report becomes the curation space. So this is another way to use it. So just going back and reinforcing, I suppose, some of these unique affordances of Mahara ePortfolio within the suite of educational technologies here at Flinders University. What is it that Mahara ePortfolio can actually make possible in terms of practice that other tools or other practices might not make possible? So the fact that it authenticates with FAN, I think, is pretty important because it means that, especially for a student, you're able to use this space as a place to create and then submit work. So a flow site, a flow topic can be set up with an assignment tool that accepts Mahara ePortfolio work, and when the student submits to that, that creates, if you like, a live window to their work, so teachers can go in at any time, click into that and see whatever is the latest. So you begin to get the idea that this sort of thing is fantastic for placement, for work integrated learning, or practices that might be happening in the student's own time and over time. Because it's user controlled and authored, it's actually an awesome space for the student to connect to, if you like, beyond the walls of the institution. So in terms of placement, they may be connecting what they're doing in their ePortfolio to field supervisors or clinicians or others that are necessarily outside of the institution or even in the public domain. Depending on what's reasonable in that circumstance. Student work that makes sense in the public domain authentically, say for instance science communication, where you might be interacting directly with the public, getting comments or engaging in civic activity or something like that. The Mahara ePortfolio creates a space for that because the student can control who sees what, which bits are public, how long they're public for, whether they want to collect comments, whether they want to moderate those comments, and all of that can then be shared back into Flow as well. So, and the other thing is because it's a space that sits with the student, doesn't belong to the topic, it's a place where the student can bring learning from the topic back into the portfolio, and as they travel through their course, begin to knit each topic's learning back into that bigger picture, that longer picture of their work. And also it's an integrative space, so they can knit between their coursework and extracurricular activity, might be horizon activity, could be private practice that they're doing, entrepreneurial practice, for instance, or anything else in their lives really that they want to make connections between domains. It also works to connect across if you're doing double degree or something complicated like that. It can connect across in those spaces as well. So what I suggest is, if you want to really find out what it is that it can do and what it's like to work in Mahara, to land on something that is actually genuinely meaningful for you, that you want to spend a little bit of time creating in Mahara. It doesn't seem to work if you just go in and click a few buttons and see what they can do, because you end up with basically nothing. It's a blank space, it's web space, unless you create something meaningful and tangible that you can hang on to. You're never going to actually engage with it properly. So because it's all about the substance and all about the guts of it, what I suggest is that you just think about one thing that might be personally meaningful to you in a private way that you would like to generate in this space, or perhaps a record of something that you've done that you're proud of, a little project, or something that you would like to share in a public way, or it might be something that you would like to see your students actually create. Have a go at creating that yourself to see what's involved and what's it like, and is is your vision of what that might be? What was the experience of that actually for you? So this is the best way to actually learn Mahara ePortfolio, by doing something meaningful. Now, if you want some guidance, you can obviously speak to your learning designers or e-learning team in your college, and they can have a design conversation with you about how you might use Mahara ePortfolio. And there is also some support material for staff and students, the same, but there's a little bit extra in here for staff as well, here in the e-learning gateway, and you can find your way through that. You can just Control F and search for things in here, or scroll down to sections and get some ideas. There's also some other example ePortfolios are collected here, and some prompts for thinking about how you might use it, as well as some steps on how to do things. So yes, I suggest that you bog in, have fun, and do something creative and meaningful, and enjoy the ride.